Internet, welcome to Game Theory. Always irked me that the Sonic games called these gemstones emeralds, because I just don't think that they are. It is my firm belief that the Chaos Emeralds aren't actually emeralds. From being a collectible that you can ignore, we now know that the Chaos Emeralds are objects of great power in the Sonic universe. I know sometimes it feels like they can basically do whatever is convenient for the plot at the time, but when you actually look at them across games, the Sonic lore is actually pretty consistent about what powers these gemstones have. The two big points are, one, Chaos Emeralds are power sources. I mean, the Chaos Emeralds are repeatedly shown to possess enough energy to power some pretty absurd super weapons like Robotnik's Eclipse Cannon. And when they're not in the hands of the villain, they can also be used by the forces of good in Gaia Temples. Speaking of Gaia Temples, point 2, they can absorb power as well as provide it. In situations where the Chaos Emeralds are drained of their energy, they can be placed on the altar of a Gaia Temple to recharge through the Earth's power. In short, Chaos Emeralds are basically like epic rechargeable batteries. Lastly, we know their color. In the first few games, the number, color, and shape of the emeralds were inconsistent between games, but from Sonic 3 onward, well, at least until Sonic Mania, they were finalized as being 7 brilliant cut gemstones colored red, green, blue, cyan, purple, yellow, and gray. And this was always the thing that bothered me as a kid. I thought emeralds were supposed to be green, but maybe I was wrong. So that starts us off with the question, what makes an emerald an emerald? Well, emeralds are classified as gemstones, and technically a gemstone is a crystal composed of a single mineral. But it just can't be any old mineral. Just like snowflakes are specifically a crystalline form of water, emeralds are specifically a crystalline form of the mineral called beryl. But there's a catch. You see, there are other gemstones besides emeralds that are also beryl crystals. For example, aquamarine is a super popular gemstone that, like an emerald, is a beryl crystal. So what makes a gemstone an emerald as opposed to aquamarine when both are formed by the same mineral? One word: color. Emeralds are green and always have to be green, getting their color from small amounts of chromium as they're being formed. So at the very most, only one of the Chaos Emeralds can actually be an emerald. But actually finding out that the Chaos Emeralds aren't really emeralds leads us to the even more interesting question of, if they're not emeralds, then what are they exactly? I mean, apart from color, they do all seem to be fairly identical. Same shape, same texture, same function in the story. It's not like Robotnik is all, I need the purple Chaos Emerald. No, they're all interchangeable. That tells me that they might belong to the same species of gemstone. Yeah, rocks have species too. Gemstones are said to be part of the same species if they're made up of the same mineral and have the same structure. For example, the crystallized form of the mineral corundum can be colored red, which is what we call a ruby, or blue, which is what we call a sapphire. They look different, but the basic building blocks are actually the same. So emerald is a form of crystallized beryl that's colored green, but beryl is an entire gem species that comes in a wide variety of colors, which means that maybe the Chaos Emeralds can't all be emeralds, but they can all be beryl, putting them in the same chemical species as emeralds. To find out for sure, though, we have to go down the color list. Green is obviously emerald. Yellow is heliodor, a form of crystallized beryl with a golden color. Teal is aquamarine, which I talked about already, getting its light blue color from iron 2+ ions. Adding a few more of those iron ions turns it darker, and you get yourself a blue beryl gemstone, Maxi. Max 6? And you get yourself the blue beryl gemstone, Majishi. Red beryl doesn't have a cool name, it's just red beryl. But here's where we start to run into problems. That darn purple emerald, which again is just an oxymoron. You see, purple varieties of beryl just don't exist. I mean, there are some forms of beryl that are technically classified as purple, like morganite, but that clearly looks more pink and definitely not the deep, rich shade of purple that we see in the Sonic games. There's also the tiny problem of Sonic 2 and Sonic Mania, which both feature a purple emerald and a pink emerald, and the beryl species has no solution for that. Plus, doing more research, beryl crystals in the real world behave nothing like the ways we see Chaos Emeralds used in the Sonic games. I mean, when was the last time you saw an aquamarine gem used to power a weapon of mass destruction, or even a weapon of minor annoyance? Long story short, it doesn't look like Chaos Emeralds are in any way, shape, or form related to emeralds or its gemstone species, which means we're back to the drawing board to find a gemstone species that does meet our requirements, that comes in a rainbow of 7 very specific colors, acts as a power source, and can be recharged like we see in the Sonic games. And in research, I actually stumbled across a property of certain gemstones called piezoelectricity. Basically, when you squeeze or heat up the gem enough, it produces an electrical voltage. The exact way it does this is way too complicated to explain here, but suffice it to say, a crystal that produces electricity when heated or pressed on enough sounds like the exact sort of thing Robotnik would be looking for to power his doomsday devices. This machine that helps make the Chaos Emeralds into what they are today is called the ROC, or Retro Orbiter Chaos Compressor. Compressor, i.e. putting pressure on the stones to get them to spit out electricity. Cool. So with that established, only 7 naturally occurring crystal families have this piezoelectric trait about them, but one stood out. Quartz, aka the most common gemstone on Earth. Hey, I mean, sometimes the answers are hiding in plain sight. Not only can quartz create voltage through its piezoelectric properties, it also works in reverse. You can place a charge across the quartz crystal and it'll produce mechanical motion by bending or flexing. Tiny vibrations that are useful for sending information to a machine in a very precise manner. Kind of like a radio frequency. Quartz crystals also have the ability to store electric charges, something that we already talked about with the Chaos Emeralds. In addition to being used as power sources, Chaos Emeralds can also absorb power. We see it happen in Sonic Unleashed. In situations where the Chaos Emeralds are drained of their power, they can be placed on the altar of the Gaia Temple to recharge them through the Earth's power. Quartz shares a similar ability. It possesses a high capacitance and is commonly used in circuit boards for its ability to store a charge. This would also help explain the Master Emerald, the gemstone with the power to counter or amplify the other emeralds. The Master Emerald, being a larger gemstone, would have naturally higher capacitance, allowing it to absorb the charges of the other smaller stones, nullifying these other rocks, transferring its own charge to a Chaos Emerald and thus amplifying its powers. So in essence, we found ourselves a gemstone that creates an electric charge, stores an electric charge, and can be recharged. All of these things just like the Chaos quote-unquote emeralds, which leaves us with one final question of color. Does quartz naturally occur in all the colors of the Chaos gems? Absolutely yes. Quartz, as a mineral species, comes in clear, yellow, red, blue, teal, pink, and purple varieties. They're all incredibly common. In an ironic twist, the rarest form of naturally occurring colored quartz crystal is praesiolite, or green quartz. The reason? Because it gets its green color from being exposed to radiation. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Gotta rub it the right way.